Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is important to get us ready for exercise and get our muscles nice and ready to go. There's two main types of stretching. One is our static stretching, which is the one we all know best, which is where we pull our arm across or pull our muscle onto a stretch and feel that stretch for about 20 to 30 seconds and then release and maybe do the other side. Dynamic stretching is when we use momentum to stretch the same muscle, but we're not holding the stretch for a long period of time. So something like this would be a similar fashion to stretch the back of our shoulders, and we're getting the same kind of stretch, but we're preparing ourselves better for exercise. So now I'm going to run you through a series of exercises that we can do before our workout and incorporate into our warm-up to get us ready for exercise. So this is a dynamic stretch for your calves. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get down into our push-up position, and then we're slowly going to take one leg across and stretching our bottom foot, the foot that's on the ground first, and we're just pushing up and pushing down into the stretch, feeling the stretch in our calf, doing 10 on one side, and then pushing onto the other side. Make sure you feel like your head is being pushed through your hands, transferring the weight back through your calf, trying to push your heel towards the floor. And then once you've done 10 each side, you're finished. That stretches the muscle in our calf, which is down here. And if you had shoulder or wrist issues, you could always try doing the same stretch up against the wall. This is a dynamic stretch for our hamstrings. So first of all, balancing on one leg, and then making sure all of the movement happens through our hip, bending over, and then bending up and kicking through. Swapping sides, bending over, and kicking up and through. Making sure that we keep our back straight all the time, making sure the movement happens through our hip. Doing about 10 each side. This is the main muscle group that we're stretching here is a hamstring, which is the back of our thigh. And we want to make sure that when we kick up, we're not kicking up too high because we don't want to injure ourselves. Each person's going to be able to kick up to a different height, so just make sure you keep it within your limits. So now we're going to stretch the glute muscle. The glute muscle is that bottom muscle. It's one of the most powerful muscles in our legs and one of the biggest muscles. It's responsible for taking our leg behind us and also out to the side. So the way we stretch this one is we come down onto our hands and knees like this, and then what we want to do is bring our leg through in front of the other leg like this. Okay, take your time doing this one, and then slowly all I want you to do is lower your top of your body down to the floor in a mini push-up, and you'll feel that stretch in your bottom muscle. And then after you've done 10 on one side, letting that leg down, bringing the other leg up, and swapping sides. Feeling the stretch in the bottom muscle. I like to call these ones figure sevens, and make sure that you don't rush yourself into the position and hurt yourself. Make sure you take your time getting your hip into the right position. So now we're going to go through a dynamic stretch for our quadricep muscle, which is the big muscle at the front of our thigh, and it's one of the most powerful muscles in our legs. The way we stretch this is pretty similar to the way you do a static hold. So all we do is stand with both our feet, get our balance first, lifting our leg up, pulling our hips forward and back, and then swapping sides. So pulling our hips forward, knee back, and swapping sides. Walking all the time, swapping sides, making sure you do about 10 on each side. And if you have balance problems, it could also be good to do it against a wall. So holding against a wall, doing one side, pushing your knee back, pushing your hips forward, and swapping sides. Not holding for more than about a second or two, pushing back till you feel the stretch, then coming out. Obviously, if you don't have balance problems, it's not necessary to use the wall, because we need to remember that this stretch is also warming up our core muscles and activating them at the same time. So the next stretch is a stretch for our hip flexors. Our hip flexors are the muscle that run up along the front of our thigh, as well as they attach up onto our spine, onto the front part of our spine. They're responsible for bringing our leg up this way. Okay, so the easiest way to stretch these in a dynamic fashion is come down into the lunge position, and then all we do is we raise our arm of our back leg up in the air, and as we lunge forward, we bring our arm across our body and then coming back. Again, only holding the stretch for 1 to 2 seconds, feeling the stretch in the front of our thigh, across the front of our hip, and also up into our torso as we take our arm across our body. Once you've done about 10 on that side, swapping to the other side, and again, arm up in the air, leaning forward, and bending across. Feeling the stretch in the front of our thigh, doing about 10 on each side. So now we're going to do a stretch for our adductors, a dynamic stretch for our adductors. Our adductors are the muscles that run along the inside of our thighs, and they help bring our legs together. They're really important for people that sprint or run, so if you're going to do any sprinting or running exercise, this is an important one to stretch. Easiest way to stretch this one is to get a nice wide stance at about double shoulder width, and all we do is bend one leg and straighten the other, stretching down, feeling the stretch on the inside of your thigh, making sure that you don't hold for too long. It's all about keeping the momentum and keeping that shift of weight each time. So I'd only recommend to be doing 1 to 2 second holds each side, and I'd make sure that you don't push this one too far. I'd make sure you stay within your limits. So now we're going to do a dynamic stretch of our chest and shoulders. If you're ever going to do any upper body exercise or anything to do with your upper torso, it's important to stretch your chest and your shoulders. A nice dynamic stretch for this, nice and easy, is to start with our arms nice and wide and to swing across our body and back out, feeling our chest and our shoulders stretching. Make sure you swap which arm is on top each time. Again, nice momentum, not holding for too long, but feeling that stretch at the end of each movement. And I would recommend for this one, again, stay within your limits. Don't push too hard or too fast. Just make sure that you make them nice controlled movements. So an exercise warm-up should only take about 10 to 15 minutes. And those stretches that we've just run you through can easily be incorporated into any warm-up routine. Other things that you can include in your warm-up include warm-up exercises such as jogging on the spot, light jogging, running, skipping, anything like that. So if you incorporate the stretches as well as the exercises, I'm sure you'll be ready to go for any exercise that you decide to do.